Since 2003, this is the Sports Source, East Tennessee's #1 sports talk show.
Presented by Pipe Wrench, and by Junk Be Gone, and by the Garza Law Firm.
With your host, John Pennington. The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into the Junk Be Gone studios for today's episode of the Sports Source. We appreciate you being with us. We've got a packed house here today. Whole show, 100% total, complete, stuff to the gills with Tennessee football. We're talking football schedule from top to bottom, game by game. We'll talk about which rivalries are for real, which streaks does Tennessee have a chance to snap, what's their shot against Georgia, on and on and on. So, this Memorial Day weekend, get ready for Vol football. That's what we're talking today. Let's get right into it. Our first segment of the show brought to you by the Garza Law Firm. Upper East Tennessee, Lower East Tennessee, anywhere in East Tennessee where you can see this ad, the Garza Law Firm can come to your aid, can be a help to you when you need them. Marcos Garza and his team of attorneys, they even opened an office in Jacksboro recently. They can help all over East Tennessee, and if you need legal help, this is who you should turn to. Check out garzalaw.com to learn more about the big part of the community here in Knoxville, but certainly all over East Tennessee, garzalaw.com. All right, let me welcome in the gang today. We always start on the right and go to the left. We got Josh Ward down here from 99.1 The Sports Animal, along with Vince Farrar from 99.1 The Sports Animal. Thanks for being here.
Appreciate that.
Thanks, Sean. David Oven right here from The Athletic. Always good to have you here. At athletic.com, people can find you there. And then right there, Bob Hodge, who is the oldest member of our panel. He's been with me a long time. And I thank you for being here again, my friend. Let's talk about the schedule. That's what we're doing, and we're just going to take it big picture here to start out with, just to get our feet wet here as we talk about it. So let's go to the schedule as you can see it. What I want to do here is, we always look at Tennessee's schedule and say, okay, who's before them? Who do you play before them? Who do you play after them? Well, let's factor in who their opponents play before they play Tennessee and just see if that makes a difference in any of our views of these games. Obviously, you got Virginia and Nashville as your opener. That's the opener for Virginia as well. In fact, it will be their first game since the tragedy of the shooting that left three of their players dead. I believe it was three, was it not?
Yeah.
That'll be the first game they've played, so that will be an emotional night for Virginia, I'm sure. Austin Peay, it really doesn't matter who they play before, but they do play the Salukis. You're playing Austin Peay before Florida. Florida's playing McNeese State, so that's a push. All right. Texas, San Antonio, they had a good record last year. I don't think there's anything there to fear, and we'll get into them a little later. But they do have Army the day before. Looking down this list, now we've kind of gotten into the meat of the schedule. Now you're in the SEC. Anything stand out to you in terms of, well, this could be tough for Tennessee's foes?
I think the thing that stands out to me, I know that Tennessee has had some sort of wizardry over Kentucky, but the only thing you hear coaches talk about consistently is they get worried when they get a bunch of open dates. Before that, and Kentucky going on the road against a Kentucky team with a ton of upside, a really solid program. That to me jumps out as one. Late in the season, you get a little bit of a chance to rev your engines a little bit. To me, that jumps out as that could be a problem.
Okay.
I was looking at South Carolina, Mississippi State. I think last year, before the tragedy that happened at Mississippi State. Not tragedy, but
death. Yeah.
Coach dying. I think that might have helped South Carolina kind of get into the mode of playing a fast team. I don't know if Mississippi State's going to change, but
different
I think
offense.
that probably lessens that just a little bit, and they've got a tougher foe than Tennessee does going into that game. So I think that's one you can take a look at.
All right. Anybody else? Any of those that work in Tennessee's favor or against Tennessee?
Well, one thing that is kind of connected to the opponent for Alabama before Tennessee is Arkansas. But that will be their 8th consecutive game start to season. They will have for Alabama. So what is left, or is Alabama banged up when they get to see Tennessee? And Arkansas, they usually handle them, but they're still a physical team.
I was trying to remember. There was someone in the SEC. Maybe it was Arkansas. I meant to look this up and I didn't. There was someone in the SEC last year that a lot of teams lost right after they played them. There was somebody that was kind of the black widow in the league last year, and I think it might have been Arkansas. I have to look that up. Josh, anything stand out to you about the schedule?
Well, I would second David's point of the tough draw, Kentucky having that break ahead of Tennessee while Tennessee plays Alabama. The flip side to the positive for Tennessee would be Tennessee having a week off to prepare for Texas A&M while the Aggies have to play Alabama.
Yeah,
so,
that was the other one.
yeah, so A&M has to go through this really difficult
And that's
physical
always an
football
emotional game for them, too,
Yeah.
because of the coaching stuff.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. And then they have to travel to Knoxville, where Tennessee will have been for 2 weeks to get ready. So that is the best draw out of this schedule to me for Tennessee from a scheduling
And that's a
standpoint.
huge game because A&M is such a wild card. I mean, they
Yeah.
could have an upside, but that's a game where if you beat them and they're on track for another 7-win season, nobody cares because your expectations are higher. But if you lose to them, the sky is falling. Neyland's falling apart. We got to change everything. We got to fire everybody. It's one of those types of games. So
You've now lived here long enough that you get it. There we go. I wondered when it would sink in. Now you got it.
All games are those kind of games. Though. I mean, that's
But some teams can beat you more soundly than others. And A&M, at
Yes.
the end of the day, for all their warts and all their problems, they still have like the 4th most talented roster in college football or something like that.
Yeah, it's
So-
interesting with all of the churn that they had. You had so many guys leave. It'll be interesting to look at the roster rankings to see how many stars they have there, because I'm guessing they went out and grabbed good replacements. But, man, at one time they had like 25, 30 guys that were on the exit ramp out of College Station.
Well, in addition to A&M having to play Alabama before Tennessee, that's also their 7th consecutive game. They also have their bye week after Tennessee, so maybe they're banged up at that point also.
It doesn't matter, but one thing I thought was interesting, there are 4 teams that have their open date after playing Tennessee.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the league looked at it and said, well, Josh Heupel's going to wear them out. So
That tempo.
Let's see if we can go back to that schedule. I don't know if my director, I didn't tell him that we may go back to it. So if we can, we can. If we can't, we can't. There we go. We can. Missouri, I don't know I don't think anybody's scared of Missouri to begin with. But again, that's a team that took Georgia to the wire last year.
Yeah.
So it's college football. It's the SEC. Anything can happen. I think the fact that they're at Georgia the week before helps you with that. If you weren't worried about them before, they're going to be beaten up and bruised from playing Georgia the week before.
and Georgia playing Ole Miss the week before they played.
Yeah.
That's
I was gonna
the
point
next
that
one I
out.
was going to get to. Yeah.
You don't know what Lane Kiffin's going to have down there. I mean, they did 2 years ago really, really good. Last year, that pretty mediocre. So that one could help you a little bit too. I don't know if anybody can help you with Georgia.
I think it could also hurt you. And here's why. Ole Miss runs elements. It's not the exact same offense, but they do run bits and pieces of that Art Briles system. So is that going to be like 2 weeks in a row, Georgia's going to be able to practice for the same thing? Hey, we saw Ole Miss do this. We know Tennessee wants to do it. Again, it's diluted. It's diluted at Ole Miss. At Tennessee, it's pure Briles almost. I mean, the run game's changed, but it's pure Briles. So it's not the same, but there's similarities.
Well, if nothing else, it's tempo because we've seen Ole Miss and Tennessee be 1 and 2 in plays per minute.
So maybe they're tired from playing that the
Yeah,
week before,
exactly. They wear 'em out.
or maybe it's just we got them back to back, so we know we're ready to go. We're used to it.
That's also just an interesting week. So Georgia will have Ole Miss coming to town. You would think they're locked in and ready to go, but Kirby Smart will be saying, don't think about the big matchup with Tennessee in the East next week. Well, Tennessee that week is in Columbia, Missouri, and Missouri should not be a great team, but that week you're going to Columbia in November, a week ahead of hosting Georgia. So both coaches will be spending a little time saying, focus this week, don't look ahead
You
to
hope
Tennessee
both
or Georgia.
coaches are saying that. I mean, once again, I'm not all in on the whole Tennessee will be number 3, 4, or 5,
Right.
1 in the country bandwagon.
Yeah.
And Ole Miss might be the second best team on Georgia's schedule besides Tennessee.
Ole Miss has a ton of
No.
upside. Quinshon Judkins might be a sleeper Heisman candidate, and they got 3 quarterbacks they can win ball games with. So it's an interesting spot for them.
Nobody gets the love like Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss every year. It's amazing.
Genius, John, genius.
It's
What is the
incredible.
old saying? If you got 3 quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, unless you're Lane Kiffin,
Yeah.
then it's just a what is the word of riches? It's
An embarrassment.
embarrassment of riches. That was the word. Never
I
grow
prefer
old, David.
plethora.
All right,
That's what they tell me.
Yeah, when we come back, Tennessee's going to open against Virginia in Nashville. Is that an interesting enough matchup, or would Tennessee be better off from a fan's perspective playing against the team they were initially lined up against, opening at BYU? We'll discuss the opener, Virginia, next on the Sports Source. Going back.